What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we will end the latest format with a little bit of a banger, so to speak, and that is the deck profile that I've used to win this beautiful Blazing Dominion playmat and the promo card, which is the Charmer Link 4, which is actually a quite interesting Link 4. Also beautiful secret rare. The regular version is an ultra with, of course, the Starlight Rare also in set. And this card basically super polyproofs your board. You can reborn two bodies that can then be used as fusion materials and whatnot, which means if super poly is as much in the format as you can basically expect it to be, then this card will be quite nice. Let's talk about the mat and what I've used to win it. So this was for the first place in the store. I played it together with the promo card, and then there was another one raffled off, same with the promo card. And we got first place, very nice. And which deck did we use? Well, we've used the good old trusted White Forest. One of my favorite decks still. I'm not sure how well it will hold up next format. Against the likes of Kultun, though I think still this deck, as always, comes with the advantage people don't know how to interact with it well, which is always how you win some games, and you can put up some unexpected stuff with this, which just makes this deck so good. But before I ramble too much, I'll talk about the new format in a little bit. Let's just get into it. Alright, let's start with the main deck, and as always, we'll start with our White Forest starters, and these are, of course, triple Sylvie, and then on top of that, triple LZ of the White Forest. We're playing one Elzamina, 3 copies of Witches of the White Forest, 1 Tails, 1 Sinful Sports of the White Forest, 1 Woes, and then for the Diabell engine, we are playing 1 Vengeance, 1 White Witch, 1 Philia, and 1 Curse to round up our White Forest standard stuff, right? And this is quite standard. There are some cards missing for some people, and we'll talk about that in just a second. On top, we're playing 3 Black Witch, 3 copies of Wanted, 1 Deception, 1 Hallowed Azamina, 1 Sinful Sports of Betrayal Severa, and then for the next sub engine we're playing for the Demod engine, 1 copy of Magician's Souls and 1 copy of Gaze of Timaeus. And before we talk about the non-engine, these are 28 cards, let's talk about the engine for a little bit. As I said, there's some cards missing that some people might consider, and I've talked about this with a buddy from locals who just recently picked up White Forest and played it this week twice, or once on Tuesday and once on Thursday. And he asked me why I'm not playing, because he asked for advice, why I'm not playing Estella, for example, right? And also why I would cut Rusia. And the reason is relatively simple, I think, is because you want to play high quality cards. You want to trim down low quality cards as much as possible. There are some engine requirements like Philia Diabell, Curse of Diabell, right? They're not very good cards. If you could, you would cut them right away, right? They're annoying to draw, especially Philia can be really awkward, but they're necessary to play, right? Rushi, on the other hand, you don't need her for your mainline combo. She can be a neat extender sometimes if you play into a board and you have some body removal, your Sylvie gets popped, booked, just banished, whatever, right? And then you can summon her out because you have an LZ on board already and you play from there, right? Which sounds neat in theory, but that card is just a brick by itself. It doesn't do anything by itself. You want to maximize the cards that do something by themselves or with another card in hand that is readily available. Like the Deception alone can do something as long as you have a monster, right? You can still get a negate out, you can get your Wanted, you get into Black Witch, right? There's some ways to play. The same thing is not true if you're playing with just Rushio. You can gamble for a draw, then pray to draw into something that plays, which just isn't good. And if you don't have a White Forest cards you can summon out, she's a normal summon that doesn't do anything except for try to draw into a card, right? I would play Rusia back in the days in my Runic builds because she does a lot in that deck, being a free special summon and also playing well with the Hugin and going into level 6 right away, because the Hugin is always a special summon. which isn't true in this list, right? And the same is for Stella. Stella, in comparison to Sylvie, is a way worse starter, in my opinion. Simple reason being is you have to invest more. She needs a discard for her effect, and if she resolves, she's the best 1 card, or 1.5 card starter rather, in this deck, right? Because she gets you into Sylvie. You have a level 6 play right readily available. She can reborn herself from the graveyard, which generates a body. But the only lists where Stella really plays well, and plays well at multiples, especially going second into boards, is with the toy engine. Otherwise, she's just not that good. She's just way too volatile. Her effect doesn't work on summon. You have an ignition effect, which means if you play into a board, you can normal summon Sylvie effect, search something that could be useful, right? That doesn't work with a Stella. She just gets pop, book, banish, whatever. And the same thing is true for her getting interrupted. Now you're in an awkward spot where you have a level 2 on board, and you need a level 4 tuner, which there's ways to get Sylvie out with the simple spots of the White Forest. You can special summon her, right? That is true. But at the same time, you can play Rusia. She's highly searchable, but it's just not good. It's just too awkward. It leaves you in really bad spots. She's a good going first card if you have a ton of engine, right? If you want to increase your engine even, but she's not a good going second card, which is why I would not play her in the main deck. And also think about it this way. Sylvie and Estella just highly conflict. If you play more copies of Black Witch, because he was playing 2 and 2 of Wanted and Black Witch, this is a special summon starter, right? This is way better for us than Estella if you draw it in combination with Sylvie, because you can brick on this. And you will always try to get to this card because you will search out with LZ usually anyways, unless you already have her in hand, right? Then you will search for LZ or White Witch or whatever. But this is your standard line. So I don't see a reason to really play Estella unless you want to go way over 40, 50, whatever, maybe up to 16. You just need more starters into the engine, which don't do that. Please don't do that. For the non-engine, we're starting with the super standard stuff. Triple Fuva, triple Ash. If you're not playing a deck that wants to hand trap your opponent to death or only plays breakers, you want to play Fuva, right? Especially since we have a lot of discard outlets going first. It doesn't hurt that much to draw it. You can send it for Deception, you can send it for Black Witch. It's okay, right? It doesn't hurt. One card that I've really liked recently is Droll, because this card just often enough is Exodia. It just makes a lot of decks explode. Especially I feel like Dracotail is less prevalent now. A lot of players like myself, I've kind of switched off it because it's sometimes too awkward where you just get head trap once and you can play, right? Or you get Ash on Rahu, you can't get your traps in rotation. If you don't have the form of white and access, then your deck just doesn't really do that much, which is really awkward at times. So a lot of people switched off Dracotail. This card can be hit or miss against Kultun. If they don't have a good starter, Droll can really hurt them severely. I had that on Thursday. I played against Kultun with Branded, which worked out perfectly. And one game I won because I drove them on a bad starter. If they have a good starter, draw will not matter. They will get hand knowledge before you can draw them, right? Because on the chain they have 2 searches, hand knowledge, extra deck rip, not extra rip, top deck. They excavate top 2 cards, banish 1, put 1 on top of under the deck, so they get perfect knowledge basically. And if they see a draw in your hand before you can throw it down, they will get the 2 searches that make sense on the draw, right? Which means they will put up a good half board at least with perfect hand knowledge. So draw isn't really good against that. And they have quick play spells to chain, right? Their Kultun synchro quick play spell that just gets them out of body and can synchro, right? So Droll isn't that hot. Another card we're playing is the Triple Droplet. Also very good in this format. Good against Kultun, Dracotail, Radiant, pretty much every deck, right? This card is sick. Double evenly, and this, funnily enough, I usually always play it for Dracotail and Radiant, but it is quite good against Kultun as well, because the main way they can play around this is actually with Zalen, because the Kultun RS, which is their onboard negate, is main phase only. So you can already stop it in draw, standby. In the end phase, you can play into it with evenly quite well. And if you have a quick play spell that you can chain, for example, to a card to activate in order to make Zalen live, then that's very good. You can also hold the Ash for your turn if you have an evenly in hand, because you want to pop their board with evenly, right? Banish everything face down but one card, and they will, for example, chain that quick play spell that summons one out. Or adds one and then lets them synchro, right? And then chain Zalen. If you ash that, they can't Zalen the first card, right? They can't Zalen the evenly. And the board says bye-bye. Same is true if you have Droplet in hand. Another good card into Kill Tune is Thrust. Same as Talons. You want to play cards that mess with their effect of hand knowledge, because then all of a sudden you search on cards that they can't really expect if they don't know your list. Same as drawing into cards with Talons. Going second is actually very good against Kill Tune. Going first, Talons is still unfair, you just look into the hand. Same is true for Call-By, very, very good card, and that is our main deck at 44. Another card that we could discuss is whether we should play the Sinful Spoils of Betrayal Silvera or the Morian going forward against Kill Tune. In a Kill Tune dominant format, you could say. I think the Silvera is just inherently better because there will be a lot of other decks on Breakers, which this card plays beautiful into. Same as cards with Droplet, for example. Droplet can severely hurt our inboard if our opponent can send like 3-4 cards, right? Which sometimes is true. They activate a quick play spell. We try to interact with it, or maybe we don't deem it necessary. Then they chain Droplet, send to other cards from hand of some 3 effects on board are negated, which is very annoying. But often people will not have a trap as a discard outlet, and then this card is just bonkers. Negate the Droplet. If people should play Dark Ruler, negate the Dark Ruler, whatnot, right? It is very good. The Morian is weird against Kill Tune. Of course, they have effects that special summon out monsters, and you can book them. What they usually will do is normal summon the guy, search a guy, synchro summon without a special summon, then you could Morian that body, which isn't super hot. And also, they can get up to 3 normal summons in a turn, right? They have their regular normal summon, then they have Rodeo effect and JJ Kill Tune effect, field spell. For additional normal summons, so that is quite iffy. So I would say stick to the Silvera. Morian I don't think is hot enough, even though it's a nice effect with the resetting. That's the main deck. Let's talk about the extra and the side. The extra deck is relatively fast to discuss, so we'll just skip over it a little bit. First card we're playing, of course, is the Silvera, the Arciela, and Queen Diabelle, which are standard synchro ladder cards. Silvera mainly for playing into boards, Arciela to get our searches off. Playing the singular copy of Poplar and the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. This you will usually summon off with the Vengeance, the Diabelle Vengeance, but you can also summon this off the Diabelle. Same with the Sylvie as an interruption when you go first. Book their board depending on the deck, that's very good. One card we're playing is the Kill Tune RS. I had this in my last list already. As I said before, it's a main phase only negate, like a Hot Red Dragon Archer in the Abyss, where it can target a card on the board, negate it, and for its cost you have to banish a tuner from your graveyard, which usually will be Sylvie, but also can be something like Ash, for example. If you play other tuner hand traps like Baylor, Ghostwell, whatnot, you can banish those as well, of course. But usually the card will be Ash, and the way you summon this out, because it's a level 5 and it needs the appropriate Kill Tune monster, is of course with the Diabelle, because it's a tuner synchro monster. We can just cheat it out, and it's a nice negate. But what it also does, it is a floodgate. Yes, it has this effect where of course it would gain attack for each tuner in the graveyard, but what it mainly does as well is every monster with 1700 attack or less your opponent controls gains a level by 1, which can be really awkward. For example, you play against Baron the Draco Tail, and they use Font of White to summon out Ecclesia. They would go into the Synchro ladder, right? Into the Synchro Ecclesia. The Ecclesia on the board is 1500 attack. She's level 5. They can't do that. They have to go into Font of Abbas, for example. The Branded deck can tag her out for Golden Sword Soul, which has 1800 attack, so you can go into the level 8, but doesn't work with the Ecclesia. So the Draco Tail deck will struggle with that, because they will have to go into Font of Abbas with her. You can out that easily with your board, right? With Vengeance effect, Sylvie, the Elia Sylvia and whatnot, right? There's ways to play around it. Even the Kill Tune RS does that. So it can be a nice floodgate. Same against Yami, for example. They don't have level 1s. Thank you. The last synchro card we're playing is the Chaos Angel. This came up multiple times for me in just 3 rounds. It has a nice removal effect still. The light dark sometimes can really matter. Usually we'll make this with Sylvie, and Mu Asiolago. You can also make this with Azamina LZ and Vengeance, or with Azamina LZ and Dark Magician of Destruction, which is what I did in one turn. Can be very good, right? Especially if your opponent is more on a hand trap deck, they will start to out it, but it will be worse in the upcoming format just because of all the breakers that will be running around thanks to Q2, right? So you might want to cut this and go for more Azamina focused extra deck. We're playing, of course, Ilya Sylvia, Mu Arciolago, Saint Azamina, and that is sadly our last Azamina card, the Demot, Dragoon, Guardian Chimera, and the SP. The Chorizo, of course, is here to make Diabol and Wanted full combo cards, right? You can play full White Force Stone with them as well, which is very good. There's basically 2 cuttable cards or 3 cuttable cards. One would be Chaos Angel, one would be the Q2 RS, and you can also cut the Guardian Chimera if you want to. If you don't want to play with the simple spells of the White Force, you can of course use it as well to fuse into Ilya Sylvia on the opponent's turn. For example, your Hold Azamina gets impulsed, or you get Fubat and you don't want to give him a draw. That can also work if you still went into a synchro, right, and you have your Diabel cards on board. You can do that. SP is mainly there to get bodies off your board, because your mainline combo will clog up your board quite sufficiently, and you could go into a turn 0 Chaos Angel, which makes you play better on Nip, I guess, but I think SP is more valuable, and I'll just simply use this to declog my board to get rid of some bodies. The Saint Azamina still wins you games, even with its damage effect, where you can summon out a little Azamina LZ, right, and then run with LZ into a body that's big and do it with Saint Azamina. I did that with Thalion, for example, in the finals, and push for 6,000 damage and then run over Khadija with the Chaos Angel to go for a game. That will come up occasionally. The Floodgate effect is very good. I would like to play more Regina, for which I would have to cut the Guardian Chimera or one of the 2 quote-unquote not so necessary synchros. But I like the lineup, though I think I might have to change it for the next format. Maybe discussing about the Chaos Angel specifically, right? I think Guardian Chimera is still very good. If Drake Jefferson plays into your board, they get a fuse off. You still have 2 bodies on board, 1 in hand, and then the simple spells of the White Force set. You go into Guardian Chimera, pop this 2 spell traps that they just set, which often will be Round Katu if they start with Lucas into Femena, right? Or if they start with Khadija, fusing away 2 Drake bodies. You're cooking from there, because they will not extend unless they have a spell in hand, right? Which is very good. So that's our extra deck. Let's talk about the side deck, which is a little bit more interesting, I guess. So for the side deck, we're playing Triple Perulia, and this card is a little bit weird because it will be less good in the upcoming format. Of course, it's very good against Vanquish, Soulstone, White Forest, Yummy. There's some applications for it, but it will not be that good against Kiltoon, because they can often set with just 1 normal summon from hand, and then pull a good half board with full hand knowledge and chill from there, right? But what I want as an approach still, especially with my locals meta, is that I use Fuva and Perulia to draw into more non-engine, as in breakers, right? Of course, as draw, I will go for Perulia and give me 1 draw. For example, with the Raisin, normal summon Surge, and then I will still draw. Which this card is still good in combination with Droll, even though it's sometimes a bit awkward to have the Charmings with Droll, but often I will just take them as an upstart and then Droll the opponent, right? Which is fair. What we're playing is a ton of breakers, and I wanted to have some variety in them. One card that I did play was Raigeki, one Lightning Storm, 1 Duster, and ideally the Raigeki is an Illusion Gate. I just don't have that, but sometimes there will just be boards where it's more monster focused rather than back row heavy, and if your opponent plays them in death, the Lightning Storm is kind of useless, so Raigeki is a better option, even though Illusion Gate is, realistically speaking, better than this card. So if you have an Illusion Gate, play this over Raigeki for sure. And we're playing 2 copies of Thrust and the final copy of Evenly Matched. And the reason why we're playing all these one-offs is, of course, they're thrustable, right? You can search all of them with Thrust, and they can help you break boards. As I said before, against Kiltoon, it's very important to have card effects that play around the hand knowledge by just changing your hand, and Thrust does very well with that. They don't see the breakers you're playing, and all of a sudden you have an Evely they can set up well around it, and all of a sudden you're cooking, right? Very good. One card that comes in combination with the Thrust is one copy of Lycolabs. I don't think this is the best card in the format right now, but it has some good applications going first. It's a good set of Thrust. You can then pitch it for a White Forest effect, or you can just keep it set against Dragotel, Colophanium with either effect, board or graveyard effect. If you know the Kulton deck well enough and which synchro they need to get into on their normal summon, if this is set, you can just call a synchro. They can't synchro with it, right? It will often be very good. So this card can be neat, right? It's a good set. It's a good going first card because we want to side out the 2 evenly. We want to side out the 3 Fuvas and potentially even copies of Droplet, which is fine going first, but sometimes isn't the hottest, right? So we need 5 cards to change out at minimum for better going first cards. And there are some more we're playing. Of course, I said I wouldn't play her in the main deck, but we're playing her on the side as one copy of Estella. Because I want to make sure that I have enough starters, and I do play it, right? If I play, my board is set up, you win most of the matchups going first. There will of course be the occasional weird board where they still break it somehow, but if you're playing and your engine pushes through, you're usually 95% of the time at least, you're winning the game, right? It's very difficult to break a White Forest board, especially if you interrupt them properly. One card that also helps with that is the Scourge of the White Forest. We can play more negates, right? Why not? And then one copy of Azamine Adapters to play around Fuva a little bit better. It's just good, right? And these will be 4 standard cards that come in going first, same as 1 to 2 copies of Thrust. Usually I will take out the 3 Fuva, 2 evenly, and 1 Droplet to side in these 6 cards. And there will be matchups where that is different because there are 2 additional cards that I have in here, and that is the Sinful Spoils Subdual and the Diabol's Original Sinkeeper. You saw I don't play more Regina, so I can't do the combo line where you send the Diabols of the White Witch Diabols and then reborn her with more Regina. So what I have to do instead is with all of our Sinful Spoils searches, Muar Sulago, Alzamina, Black Witch, we're searching the trap, which they'll end the opponent's draw phase, summon out the Diabols. And if they don't know what you're doing against a deck that plays breakers, you're cooking. The only problem with her is her effect to pop isn't live with the trap because you can't activate the monster's effect. Turn you summoned it with this card, but you still have the Diabol's Vengeance to pop something, right, and the potential Guardian Chimera play. So that can help with that. You can still easily pop up to 3 back row with those cards. So that's good. So this is the side deck. As I said, there's some scuffed one-offs, but that is due to Thrust, because I wanted some variety in the breakers that play well into the deck. So I hope that makes sense. If you have some ideas, especially for the new format, let me know. I think the going first lineup will probably stay somewhat the same. Maybe I will play the new Solemn Counter Trap. I pulled 1 copy of that, which is very neat, from my price packs from this, same as a Fidraulis, but I sold that right away because I don't want to pick up a playset for this deck because it is a little bit awkward. Of course, we're a synchro deck, yes, we can play it, but I like to do my Azamina stuff, man. Like half of the extra deck is fusions. I don't want to cut down on those. I think it makes the deck not necessarily stronger. I think, for example, playing Dominus Spark in this deck makes way more sense than playing Fidraulis necessarily, even though Fidraulis is insanely powerful, right? So. Alright, so that's it for the final White Forest deck profile of the old format before we're entering Blazing Dominion format, or you could rather say the Kulton format. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. I still think this is a very good starting point for the new format, and you can build from there, but I think we have to expand on some of the draw effects that can change the hand knowledge, basically. I did this already on Friday with playing Branded in the Kulton format, and also testing with some friends on Saturday for German Nats, where I played a few matches against Kulton as well, where I played with Branded with a lot of draw cards, which you will see in my next deck profile. I think that list worked out very well, and I'm happy for it. So yeah, that's something to expand. If you have ideas for the new format, how to change the list, please let me know. I'm still looking forward to play White Forest a bunch in the next format. I will not play it for Nets. I'm pretty set on playing Branded because that deck does so well for me, and I'm still scared of losing to Droll and Ferolia. Maybe it is the time for White Forest though, because Prolia isn't very good against Q-Tune, so people might cut it entirely from their side deck and play more Meowths, for example, for accounting for other matchups that are tough, like struggling against Melis or for against the Yummy decks or even Mitsu. And Joel might leave some main decks because of Q-Tune. I still play it as a Glass Cannon type card, where sometimes it just shuts them down and sometimes it doesn't do anything. But that is something we have to observe, because if those two cards leave the format more and more, or if this is a ban list that maybe puts Droll to 1, then White Forest all of a sudden, without getting any new support, just looks incredibly sexy. And the reason for that is quite simple. People still don't know how to play against this deck. This deck plays incredibly well with board breakers, which is insanely good against the Q-Tune deck, right? Which is very good. So we might be able to take advantage of that when playing White Forest. So that's it for the video. As always, a like, a comment, and especially a subscribing to the channel would be highly appreciated. I would thank you a lot for that, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.